right, it says we're Green Bean. We're live, live, and in action in the flesh. This is Leak Speak, coming from Ohio, Cleveland, Lorraine, you name it. Um, so today I want to go over a brief overview of like my journey as far as taking my life through a personal development, a self help, self knowledge, and kind of really just a self orientated education. And by no means would I say I'm a very educated man. I just pay very close attention and I'm very aware. And so, with those two things, attention and awareness can take you very far. And so, I want to kind of just take it step by step. And I'm going to be all over the place with this, but of where my journey started. And I want to do a quality check because last time my mic was OD and I did not pay attention. And I had to scrap the whole video because it sounded terrible. So, with that being said, all right, we good. Oh, I'm sorry for that feedback. All right. So, let me take you back to my first awakening as far as high school. Shout out David Reese when he taught me mindfulness, right? The biggest thing about mindfulness for me was beginning to pay attention and be aware of my surroundings. He told me this one thing. He said, if you travel down the same road for 10 years and you pay close enough attention, you'll find something new about that scenery every time. You could find five things new about the scenery that you traveled for the past 5 years, same five times. And what that did for me was it awakened this awareness, it awakened this attention to details, right? That's a big thing too, from art to drama club. We pay attention to the small details of life. And so every detail is a decision. That quote has stuck with me for a long time. And we're taking you through the progressions of my entire mental construction and development, so to say. And so every detail is a decision. There was a quote that he put up on the wall, basically said, if I will create, I will create to my utmost capacity. But if for some reason I must destroy, I will destroy to the strongest degree. And for that, it again awakened something in me that said, we're either going to go crazy, we're going to create the life we want to live, or we're going to become a destructing force in others' life, in my life as well. So moving out of that phase, we just were awakened. We still were ignorant in high school, you know what I'm saying, around the environment. Nobody else was really trying to be awoke. No, we weren't focused on that. We were focused on being young, having fun, and figuring out life. So I start to step into college, and I'm still ignorant. I'm still figuring things out. You know, I go to college, I break my collarbone. Unfortunate incident where it's a one-on-one situation. I beat the guy to the inside. I get to the quarterback, the whistle blow. He pushed me, and out of nowhere, I go flying and break my collarbone. So for me, it was a message. It was a sign. You're not supposed to be doing this. You won, but you lost. And then in the end, you won. So, we took that as, whatever it is. And so moving forward, I failed. I failed every class in 2 semesters. So the first semester I tried to get back into school saying like it was my collarbone, like I just didn't feel comfortable on the team. They let me back in. Came back and failed every class again. So for 2 straight semesters I failed every class. And so for me I'm looking, I looking back, I'm like it was a routine, it was a habits, there was no structure, there was no organization, there was nobody pushing me. I have no self-encouragement, right? But then now I'm looking at it like I looked at it then as, you know what, fuck it. Maybe I'm supposed to be a worker. Maybe I'm supposed to be out in the field serving people, or I jumped in behind a line in the line cook and shit like that and became that. And this is the summer of I think 2017. And so a lot was going on. I was just trying to figure out my life. But what I realized was, what I told myself was, if I drop out of school, I refuse to be a dummy. You know what I mean? I have to continue to learn. There is no misstep in education. We have to continue to grow. And so, being a very resourceful person, I get that from my mother. I'm like, I'm going to the most studious place I can be for free, and that was Oberlin College's library. You know what I mean? So it's not public by no means. I used to have to go in there, by my own discretion, and figure it out for myself. But what I realized was, once I established a presence within the library, it honed in on my ability to want to learn. So I'm picking up books. I'm looking through the whole library, just seeing what catches my eye. Books on neuroscience, books on W.E. Du Bois, the souls of Black folks, and like really just starting to put my whole mind together. I wrote a whole semester of work of that I thought I was gonna do for myself, right? And then from there, it was kind of like, okay, well, we see what we're good at. We know that we like to journal, so let's take all of these things and apply them, right? So I was in there for maybe 4 to 5 months, and I, got out of school in May, and I said I'm gonna be a worker. So 4 to 5 months puts me in November. Um, and so I was working 2 men in the truck, you know what I mean? Very heavy work. Like, I'm a genius, bro. At the end of the day, I'm a genius, and I always knew that. So why am I being so taxing to my physical body when I could use my mind to pay myself, the same amount of money, or, with less taxing efforts. And so I said to myself, I said I'm gonna go back to school. But I was working with my good friend, Jonathan Austin. You know what I mean? We were working at 2 Minute Truck. He put me on and stuff like that. And then I thought, everything was green, and then he ended up passing away. And so for me, he ended up passing away the day before I got accepted to the University of Cincinnati. So I had applied before then. I had been over the worker life after 5 6 months. So I said I'm gonna go back to school and I'm gonna figure it out. And so UC, I had went on a college tour when I was young. Shout out to those experiences shaping me as a youth to kind of help me figure out what it is I wanted to do. I loved UC. I loved the campus. I thought it was beautiful. We stayed in the dorms. I knew what dorms I didn't want to be in, right? And so I ended up picking UC, and I got accepted. And then I get there, or when I was applying, I figured out where I wanted to stay in my dorms, and which is it's a pivotal moment in my story, because I remember being so conscious of where I wanted to stay at UC, and what it ended up doing was open up these doors so I can meet the people that I ended up meeting. And so I knew I didn't want to stay in these one halls because them dorms were beat up and broken. But then I ended up picking this one hall, which was, I had nothing, know nothing about, but it ended up being this really tall building. And then I, went through and seen who was staying at what dorms, and I'm like, okay, Fredo, like, or whatever is, Fredo, I'm gonna end up staying with him. And so what that did for me was like that was perfect because I was who I needed to be with. He ended up connecting me with my bro Gary, and then Gary connected with me and Caleb, and now we got a whole, family in that sense. And so in that phase right there, being open, being experienced. I had no swag. I was kind of chubby still from football. Starting to lose some of that weight. I had long hair. I was just trying to figure out myself, and this is being at UC, being young. I think I was 19. I was hanging out with freshmen and stuff like that. So I was just above a year above them and stuff like that. And then what I realized was I loved to read. I was reading a lot of Langston Hughes. I was figuring out the Huey P. Newtons. I was identifying with the great thinkers, the great African American thinkers, the intelligence squad I like to call them, of the past, so that I can identify with that moving towards to the future. So I didn't have the drip, I didn't have the swag, I didn't have the money, I didn't have the game. I didn't have the money. I didn't really have much, but I had a great mind. I had a very great mind, a very fertile mind. And so what I would do is I would just read a lot. I played a lot of Fortnite. I sat in my room. I didn't really experience too much. I'd go on walks and stuff like that, but I was just trying to figure it out. So I after that first semester, I'm like, okay, I'm a room with my bro Gary, Caleb in Boston. So we all end up getting a dorm, not a dorm room, a house, close to the campus, whatever, whatever. 4 bedrooms, 2 bath. We all got our own room, and I end up staying up upstairs, whatever. So I had this very small room, probably the smallest room in the house, right? And I was very, I was, it was an inferiority complex, whatever, because I'm like, well, how did this end up happening? I'm the tallest, the biggest guy in this entire group of people, but I end up getting the smallest space. But everything works out for a reason. So I ended up being very meticulous with my space. You had to walk up the staircase, so I put my whole dreams where I wanted to go. It was South America listed all over. So as soon as you walk upstairs, you just see a whole bunch of different pictures of South America. And leading up, you get up there, you see the world map. You have all of these pictures and paintings of different things that kind of inspired my knowledge. Then you go into my room, which was like this, right? My bed's on the floor, it has a little lamp. I got all my chakra stones laid out. I got lights laid out. I had a cat at that time. So I was really just trying to figure out my space and figure out my routines and figure out what did I wanted for myself. And so one thing that I realized when I left Ashland was I thought that I wasn't a great student, but that wasn't the case. The case was I just didn't know how to be a great student. There are people who are winners, there are losers, and there are people who are learning how to win. You know what I mean? And so that's where I was at. I was in that space of learning how to win, figuring out how to be great, how to, ace a class, how to study for a test, this, that, and the third. And so I get to a point where, I was doing a lot of acid, I was doing a lot of psychedelic drugs, I was reading books on it as well. So I was really manipulating my mind. I was tearing it apart, I was dissecting, and I was trying to figure out who I was to the core. And a lot of things I wrote, affirmations. I am a king. By the age 25, I want to have X, Y, Z when we're kids and babies and books. And so I was aspiring to be more, and I was writing, journaling, poetry, everything was so, it was a tsunami of just great ideas, inspirational thoughts, and, being around the people I was around. We were all going to school. We were all making music. We were all headed in this certain direction. And so it was beautiful to kind of see, looking back on it, what that did for me. So I get to a certain point where I'm walking down. Um, I think I remember the day almost vividly, but I'm walking down campus and I said to myself, I said, after studying a lot of people who came to Cincy and stuff like that, I went to this leadership conference. Warren Bennett. I think that's what it is. I'm trying to remember the name, but I think that's what his name was. And so I was trying to figure out, like, you know, I want to be one of the greatest people to ever walk on this campus. And I knew that when I was walking on, like, I just wanted, I had this great feeling about myself where I'm like, I'm going to be one of the greatest people to ever walk on this campus. Like, I didn't even graduate, but they're gonna be like, Malik came to the school, you know what I mean? And when I go back, I want to go back, I want to get paid, I want to speak to the kids and everything, and I want to relive it as if I, what I mean, was in those shoes then, understanding where I was gonna be because I kind of had the trajectory based on what I was doing then. And so I said to myself, I said, I want to be one of the greatest to ever walk the UC campus. And so what that did for me was kind of gave me an aspiration, like I don't belong here. It kind of made me give me this superiority complex, like I don't belong here. I belong, with the greats. I belong doing something. I know I can get out into the world and actually create something of myself. So I decided to drop out mid semester. I think I was in like the fifth week. I had good grades. I had C's, B's, and a couple A's, whatever. And I was doing good, but something said, we can do better. We can figure it out, how to live within the real world. And to this day, I do not regret that decision because, after maneuvering through life and going to two different colleges and coming back home, what I'm saying, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my life, I said, I'm going to go to Phoenix. We moved to Phoenix and we started to figure it out there. And a lot of things transferred. So now having two different spaces, being Ashland, being Cincinnati, and then having my crib in what's it called? I'm like, okay, I know how to live by myself. I know how to take care of my bills. I know how to be responsible. I know how to continue to stick to my grind, stick to my personal development grind. I know how to stick to my goals and stuff like that. So we got to a point where, I'm sitting in Phoenix and things are just starting to come together, right? As far as like the YouTube and like chilling with 10K, and we are all like on the same mission. We didn't have anything, and that's what was so beautiful is all we had was each other in a dream as far as like figuring out what we wanted to do, what we wanted to be, how we wanted to move, how we wanted to operate, and a whole lot of, what I'm saying, just trying to create content and figure out stuff and try to be influential to the people who we left back home. Um, so now we're at a point where, at what I would say like 2020, 2021, I just turned 21 in Phoenix, and the lifestyle was just a little bit different. I think I was working at Red Lobster, or something like that, just trying to figure it out, right? We're just trying to be better, and just trying to live life, right? It's so one thing that I will say is like before I moved to Phoenix, I think I had like $1,500, right? Like who anticipates to move across the country with such small funds, right? And that's kind of it. It was weird just taking leaps of faith. We didn't really expect to be thriving or this, that, and the third. And so, my message to anybody who wants to travel or be somewhere is you don't need it all. It'll figure it itself out as you get out there. And so I bought a car, a little beat up, I wouldn't say beat up, well taken care of, 2004 Pontiac Sunfire, and it drove me all the way to Phoenix. Me and my bro Lil Dave, and so I had a car out there. He didn't. He was taking the bus, so his struggle's a little different from mine. But that was beautiful for him because I used to tell him he complains too much. You know what I mean? Like me, I'm optimistic. I don't like to sit within criticism. I don't like to just sit here and nag and complain and bitch. Like all of that shit hurts me. You know what I mean? Like it tampers with my own energy when I have to sit within the space of people who complain and nag and don't aren't proactive about doing something with their life and gaining and getting better. So that was him, riding the bus, coming home, complaining about it. And I'm like, bro, like, is you my, you know what I mean? Like, is you my bitch coming home complaining like this? Like, and we just had a conversation about this recently where he said, like, he had to work on that. And that's one thing that's important is, we started to address that within the household. So, um, you know, kind of recapping my whole livings because there's many different parts to this, right? But one thing is living with people is you have to learn how to disassociate your energy from theirs. Like what they got going on sometimes has nothing to do with you. You shouldn't be worried about what they got going on over there. What they, you know what I mean? Like that ain't got shit to do with me. I'm focused on what I got going on within me, within my own energy. I come home to my space so that I can heal, so that I can cleanse, so that I can be better for myself. I don't come home so that I can mix with your energy and try to bring you up in a space where I am, because I know that I'm on my own journey, and I've taken the steps to heal the certain aspects of my life so that I can be at peace when I get at home, right? And so same, like, moving forward, um we are both just on our journey in 2021. End up moving back home, or actually end up going to San Diego, because the lease was up. We both decided we weren't going to sign the lease again. For whatever reason, he moved back home. I took my Pontiac Sunfire with some busted out windows for another reason we'll talk about, and I took it to San Diego and stayed with my bro. And so he had his girl. They were living together, and I was sleeping on the couch, sleeping on the floor for about 3 to 4 months. And what I realized in that time was, a multitude of things. I ended up working at 2 Men in a Truck. I was delivering pizzas to the most beautiful, and I swear to God, this is the most beautiful pizza route in the world. I don't care what anybody says. The San Diego pizza place on, I don't even remember the road, Pizza Hut, but it's the most beautiful, I swear to God, the most beautiful pizza route in the world. And so I was doing that along with 2 Men in the Truck, and I was staying on the floor. But one thing that I did was read. Like, no matter where I went, I always had my books with me. No matter where I went, I always had my books, and I always had my journal. So I was always doing two things: reading and writing. You know what I mean? And we'll get into that later. But my philosophy for life is, if I can do any three things in a day, I want to read, I want to write, I want to run. I want to read to access more knowledge. I want to write to reflect on that knowledge and more knowledge and my own growth. And I want to run to increase my physical, but also clear my mental mind. And so, like, I'm in San Diego, and I feel like as a spiritual energy, I was at my peak, right? I will walk to the top of this mountain. I will write in my journal. I will read this Egyptian tantric yoga book, you know what I mean, and all these other different books that will kind of just Christ consciousness and taking me to the core of my mental at the age of 21, reaching on 22. Uh, long hair, whatever, whatever. Still just figuring out life. Things didn't work out then, so I went back to Phoenix for a month, stayed with the homie there, and then I ended up driving all the way back home. And then from, I think it was December or of 20, what was that, 2020, damn, it's so hard to really remember. Probably like 2019, 2020 is when I ended up coming home. I stayed home for a year, and then me and Dave decided that we're going to move back to Phoenix. So we moved back to Phoenix for a year, and then this is where life kind of took a turn, and where I continued to stay on my grind, but it was more focused on music, selling my brand, selling my business, and then nightlife slash party life slash ego, right? And so all throughout the process, we're developing our own confidence. We're getting a feel for who we are, and so we're starting to fill ourselves out. And so I ended up bartending. Before I left to go to Phoenix, I worked at this small place, Club R Space. Shout out to Howard or whatever. Shout out for Sheep. Always respect the elders for teaching me what it is. Different paths take you different ways. So I had the bartending, but I didn't know. I didn't know how to make a martini. I didn't know how to make a jello or a green tea shot. So there came this opportunity where this job I was able to go work out called the Golden Margarita. They weren't paying their employees because they didn't have the money. They just weren't bringing it in. They had too many bills, whatever, whatever. Jim, you know what it is. And it's funny because everybody damn near boycotted. So then nobody showed up to work. And then my homegirl was like, if you come up here, they're gonna hire you on the spot because nobody's showing up. And I'm like, well, how do I know I'm gonna be getting paid? They're like, I basically didn't give a fuck because all I was doing out there was selling merch, looking for a job anyway. So I get out there and I go in there, and this is a job with bottle service, and it's kind of the first introduction into the nightlife of my experience, right? And so one thing that I'm pointing out within my journey is there's so many trials and errors, but there's an exposure to life. There is a risk factor. There is a I will get out here, I will jump off my bed, I will bump my head, and I will figure it out. And so that's the most beautiful thing that I wish to convey within this entire message is just get out here, experience, and try things. So where I go to Margarita, life is amazing at this point, right? So go to Margarita is right on the corner of Roosevelt and I believe it's Third Street in downtown Phoenix, right? Right on that same street of Roosevelt, they have a First Friday that they hold every first Friday of the month, which vendors come out, the streets are filled with people looking to buy and enjoy the nightlife. So we go out there this first Friday, and me, homegirl, and Dave, we go to Margarita because she was working there at this point, and we just experienced the vibe. There's a fashion show going on in the back. It's packed, women everywhere, people everywhere, whatever, whatever. So it's a great time. Then I get exposed to this opportunity. I go and end up working there. So now, my first day, I remember I was extremely confident for whatever reason. And normally I don't do this, but I did this then where I spoke to everyone. I walked up, introduced myself. Hello, my name is this, my name is that. And part of the reason was there was so many beautiful women walking around in this tight ass clothing, right? So like this is a new experience for me coming from where I'm coming from. You know, I never worked in the nightlife, and it was never this accessible for me. And I was a jewel. I stood out as much as I could. I was just so independent in thought, but I also was, you know, in shape and all of these good things and confident. And that took me a long way as well. So introducing myself and just being very lively. And so what this shapes is this ego. This shapes this identity of confidence, of poise, of ability to speak, communicate, and get what I want out of people, out of women, out of men, out of anything, and encouraging my own development and self growth. And so, in a different aspect, whatever, whatever. So, um, things didn't end up working out at Golden Margarita. They ended up closing shortly. I ended up getting fired for fraternizing in the employee bathroom, which is fine, right? We live and we learn. You know, some things aren't always meant to be. And so before that, I met this lady. Her name is Kira. Shout out to Kira. And what happened with Kira was she was opening up this restaurant around the corner called Palma, Champagne Lanes, and Ghost Donkey. Excuse me. So the day of, or she moves into the city of Phoenix because they're starting to open it up. She comes down because her apartment building's right above. She comes down to go to Margarita, sits down. Me and her have a great conversation, right? She's a manager, assistant general manager, whatever, whatever. Have a great conversation, hit it off, whatever. And then we end up staying connected throughout the whole thing. And then this is in, I want to say November, September, and October, one of the months. And then it ends up opening in March. We had training in February. I got fired from Go to Margarita in January. So I waited all of February for it to open. It didn't open until March. So whatever, whatever. I stayed patient and went into bartending. So this experience of bartending took it from no longer nightlife bottle service, but classy type, like higher end vibe. So it was a paradise, palm trees, fire pits, outdoor patio slash indoor with projectors that change based on the day or the night. Just a beautiful environment. You wrap around the back of the building and you go into this bowling alley, that small bowling pins with a circle bar that has disco balls. And so like what? Like how did you manifest this into your life? And again, this is the exposure, this is the risk, this is the development of the person, this is the development of the ego, right? So I did that. When I was working at Go to Margarita, I got promoted to lead bartender, which meant something but didn't mean much. When I was working at what's it called? Again, the same situation. Got promoted to lead or whatever, whatever, for whatever reason. So we understood the concept, we understood our own power. And so in that, it led me to end up moving back home, right? Whatever ended up happening, same thing with Dave. Didn't want to come back out, re-signed the lease. Um, we didn't sign the lease, end up moving in with a friend. Friends end up getting pregnant, leaving that crib. So I end up moving back home, right? So this brings me all the way back to where I am now, which is back in Ohio, trying to figure out how to get back to Phoenix, right? And so I have a relationship now, which is going to take me back to Phoenix, which I do not mind because I'm not afraid to continue, right? My brother was like, "You're so indecisive," once I told him. And I understand because, you know, somebody who is stagnant, and I want to say stagnant, somebody who is content will not see what I see. I can do as I please because the life that I live entails that I go on adventure, that I explore, that I continue to test my own journey and my own risks. And so, in this process of figuring out what is next, I have come to a realization of what I will be doing. In so much as I'm working on this project now to where I will be hosting workshops. And at first, the workshops will be free. They will be hosted at public libraries. They will be hosted at schools or wherever I can squeeze in my space, my time, and I will be applying this until I have it cemented, and then I will start to charge for it. So the end goal of this vision of this workshop is to host thousands for conferences, for meetings in big venues and big spaces for weeks, for a week at least, for days. I mean, and in really hitting home how to create. Hold on, habitual success. That is number one on my list and priorities is how we're gonna turn. Hold on, how we're gonna help other people create habitual success in their life. So I'm not saying I'm where I want to be, but this is where we lead. 25 minutes, kind of telling you my. Hey, bro, what's going on? Oh, okay. Okay. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Okay. Hold on. I'm sorry. We got technical difficulties here. All right, we back. Wait. Okay, we back. Okay. So I like that though. 25 minutes, we cut us off. But so for the last 30 days, I've dedicated myself to. I'm gonna read the list to you, just so we got it all on point. And I love it because this has been so pivotal. Um, and so I kind of give you the kind of synopsis on it all. I went something in January, got arrested, and wasn't even like I had to do no time, but it just changed my perspective. Like, where are you going, bro? Where are you going? If you're not deciding where you're going, you're gonna end up wherever life takes you. As a man who loves to learn, as a man who loves to grow, I refuse to be a victim of the waves just letting me crash on the shore wherever I land. So March 14th, March 15th, I hit up the two people who I aspire to be like in the field of motivation, self help, life coach, authors, all of that good shit. Hit up Elijah Frazier, hit up Brianna McClendon, shout out both of them. The big thing about Bree was she had a visionary group. She had a community of people that was 70 people deep. And so what they all did together was figured out she basically led a pack of wolves that are all trying to grow and progress in their own right. So she introduced this idea to me called self-image work. And all self-image work is, excuse me, is re-identifying what it is that you believe about yourself. And so the most powerful thing about that was the accountability aspect of it. It wasn't even as much as the self-image work that was so beautiful to me as much as it was the accountability aspect to it. So what she asked of you was to take a picture of it after every day you wrote it and try to stay consistent. This is March 14th, right? So I started writing down my first self-image, which I continue to write down to this day. Shout out whoever just joined. But to this day, I continue to write down the same self-image. So this is March 14th, right? Where we April 28th now. So for the next 14 days, for the next 16, 17 days, I continued to write down a self-image. But then when April 1st came, I decided to dedicate myself to, you see that? It's called Zero Dark 30. So all Zero Dark 30 was is starting to change my habits, not my beliefs, just my habits, right? I want to work on becoming a little better. So I said for 30 days straight, I'm gonna do these things. And so just a brief um, overview or like whatever disclaimer. These things are simply goals in which I expect to reach. But as I got on the journey, I realized some things weren't going to be done. I didn't have the time. If I didn't have the time, I didn't have the ability to manage my time right in order to complete some of these tasks. So it's okay because now I have my accountability chart where I can look at, and every day, after every day, I will look at and see what things I did do and what things I didn't do, right? And so for 30 days straight, I said I would do 2 miles a day running, 50 push ups a day, 100 sit ups, no social media, one song a day, 4 workouts per week, one book a week, 1 gallon of water, no smoking of any kind, no drinking of alcohol of any kind. So what I said was I have the tasks and then I said what all that I would equal out to. I said If I did 2 miles jogs for 30 days straight, it would be 60 miles, 50 push ups, 1,500 push ups, 100 sit ups, 3,000 sit ups. No social media, 30 days clear mind, one song a day, 30 songs, 4 workouts per week, 16 workouts, 1 book a week, 4 books, 1 gallon of water, 30 gallons, no smoking of any kind, 30 days clear lungs, no drinking of alcohol of any kind, 30 days sober. So, and then I put to the bottom of the list, I said, why commit to 30 days of change? Because I am capable of completing this task. After it is done, I will celebrate with a bottle of wine and I will drop a leak speak. This must be done to confirm the changes I am making in my life. So, I led you with the disclaimer of the 2 weeks beforehand because this is how we're going to start to change other people's habits, right? We're not going to expect people to just turn the leaf that day. I don't expect you to drop everything at the drop of the dime. We need to build up a sense of confidence. We need to build up a sense of commitment. We need to build up a sense of identity so that you can start to really stick to these habits. So, if it wasn't for the 2 weeks of consistently writing down whatever it is in my journal and sending it and being accountable for it in the group chat, would I have been able to complete this 30 days of doing this? I don't think so. Can you? Maybe. But what I say to make sure that it does cement within your life is we lead up to that. So when I continue to help people on their journey to major life change, lifestyle adjustments, we're gonna work up to it. I don't expect someone to become a runner in one day. If you want to run 60 miles in a month, don't try to run 50 miles the first day. Work your way up to it. Run 1 mile, 1 mile, 1 mile, 2 mile, 2 mile, 1 mile, 2 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile, 2 mile, 1 mile. Work your way up. We don't expect lifelong changes to stick after 30 days. We don't ex- I got I have 25 years of things that I need to unpack. I don't expect that to happen in 30 days. I have 75 years expected to continue forward in my life. I don't expect these things to stick in 30 days. We're looking long-term mentality. This is the idea behind 10K the movement. 10,000 hours, it takes 5 years consecutively for 10,000 hours to occur. Is that right? No, that's not right. If you do 5 hours a day, then maybe that's what the number adds up to. So essentially what we're thinking is we use this long-term mentality and we take it step by step. The self image work, what I was working on was re identifying with things that I no longer wanted to be. I didn't want to smoke anymore. I don't want to drink anymore. I want to have a clear mind. I don't want to be a robot that scrolls on social media and looks at everybody else's stuff. I don't want that for myself. So I re identified. So then 30 days straight, I didn't do any smoking. I didn't do any drinking. I have a clear mind. I'm in a space now where I feel mentally free. And the problem is, now that I'm so mentally free, I look back on everything that I didn't do in these years and I sit within myself and I say, God damn, I got a lot of work to do. And sometimes that gets frustrating. Sometimes that gets me overwhelmed to the point where I'm lazy. I don't even want to do it. I feel like I had smoked or I had drunk because it hurts, right? It hurts to know that I could be further than I am. But at that point, what are we going to sit here and cry about it? Fuck no. We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure out how to maneuver a better life for ourselves. I've always asked myself the question, how will you create the life you live? What will that look like? How will you shape it? And how will you really get to it? And so here we are, zero dark 30. That was my plan to myself. That was my mission to myself. And what I realized is I don't expect to stop. Like after having 30 days of not smoking, why smoke on the May 1st? Why? Why not just keep going? You got the momentum, continue to let it pour. After doing 30 days no alcohol, why drink? Why? The social media is a different aspect because we need the content to drop because we're going to be the biggest inspirational influence within Northeast Ohio in the next 3 to 4 months. Because the message is clear, the vision is clear, the mission is clear. We know where we're headed, we know what we want, we know how we're going to serve other people in the process. You can't stop this force that is here to change the world. You can't. No one can. So where I'm at within my life is I'm figuring out how to scientifically assist people in the development of their success. So the course that I will be creating is called Habitual Success. It will be 4 weeks or 4 days straight. It doesn't matter. It's up to the person who can participate. It's up to me when I can get it right. And what we'll do is we'll just go through these steps. I'm not asking people to change their life in one day. That's unrealistic, and it's not something that I expect from anybody. But what we will be asking is that you dedicate this journey to growth, right? So just to say it, when we start this, we're not looking at our habits. So this is what my bro told me. He said, from now on, I want you to write out everything you spend, and then from there, you'll just be looking at it, and now you'll be more aware. What we start this video off with, attention and awareness. When I was 16 years old, the biggest things that came to my mind were attention and awareness. Ah, okay. I can't ask for two bigger things in my life. So now we bring that attention and awareness to our own behaviors, to our own traits, to our own habits, to our own thoughts, to our own attitudes, to our own mental sphere of life, so that we can understand what it is, so that we can maneuver better within the world. And so I say all of this 35 minutes to lead you to this point. I'm going to assist as many people as I can in their development towards habitual success. I will help people who want to be helped. I will help people who come to me. I will not help people who would not help themselves. Leak, speak, learn, educate, apply the knowledge. Learn, educate, apply the knowledge. Okay? So with that being said, Zero Dark 30 has been amazing for me. I've ran 58.24 miles in the past 29 days. I have to run two more tonight and then two more tomorrow, and I'll be over my goal. I'm short on push-ups. I'm short on sit-ups. I didn't touch social media other than to post links like this or post links to my songs. I I think I'm shy a couple workouts, but that's fine. I didn't do a book a week, but I think I'm damn near at a book with all the chapters that I have read. I didn't do a gallon a day, but damn, I probably got 20 gallons. I didn't do any smoking of any kind, and I didn't stay sober. So when we look at this, based on the analytics, I did one, two, three, four. Four things I completed and I know I did. Five things I fell short of. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that for the simple purpose of some things I stuck to my gun. I didn't smoke. It was presented to me. I said no. I didn't drink. It was presented to me. I said no. Social media, it's as easy as it is. I did not engage with it. So what I'm saying is we're looking to build habitual success through not only routines, but understanding of self, through understanding of habits, through understanding of programming, through understanding of your own beliefs of yourself, through understanding of the inner dialogue that you have within, right? And I'm doing this on a Saturday night while other motherfuckers are getting high, while other people are getting drunk, having fun. I'm focusing on my life that I'm creating. One more time, I'm focusing on my life that I'm creating because I know where I'm headed. I know what I want. I know what I expect. And I know that everything will come to me as I continue to progress. And I'm going to leave you with this. There was a guy who said, and shout out Jim Rohn, he gives me a lot of my, inspiration. Of course, so many other people, but he said there was a man who said if he ever got $10 million, he'd never work another day in his life. So God said, why the freak would I give you $10 million? Why? Why would I give you 10 million if you're going to waste it? If you're going to waste the energy? No, I'm going to give 10 million to the person who's going to keep working after he gets the 10 million. I'm going to give the money, the success to the person who's going to continue to work for it after he gets it. That is what we're working towards. We're not even working towards a specific goal. We're working towards becoming a way better version of myself, and every day that can be better and better and better and better. I don't want to retire at any point in my life. I will be teaching, I will be speaking, I will be giving of myself until the day I die. Leak, speak, learn, educate, apply the knowledge. I'll see you guys soon.